Good morning, y'all. This morning is going to be a follow-up to the Tantric teaching of a couple of weeks ago, where we did Tara and Vajrasattva. Was there anything else we did besides those two? And Guru Rinpoche.
Yes.
So this is more in the order of what do you want to know, rather than what do I want you to know. So think of your questions, whatever they might be, and we'll get to those in a minute. Type them in if you're online, and we'll just do it in person for those who are here. Chuku kundu zongbo gompo dorji sempa garab dorji dang. Shere singe bardu shin labde de damabzan tata tusum chi. Zogchen jupe Lama-la solo deb. Ergin pema junela solo deb. Dorji chang chitilo narodang. Marpa mila gompo tatapa. Na pupadang palden drupa suk. Kargilama namla solua deb. Ochen lama namla solua deb. Druchen lama namla solua deb. Kaginwari lama namla solua deb. Shakya lama namla solua deb. Nyenduda yundrun lama namla solua deb. Palkondu zhongdang yerme pa. Gungarab dorji jin trag pa. Jetidang nisume pai. Alamanam jetente chong. So, who wants to start this with a question? Anything coming in from online yet?
Not yet.
How?
Should be something in a couple.
I have a short question. Often we ask, can we recite in English, etc. And we always advise, no, do it in Tibet. But what about the mantras? For instance, Vajrasattva, you have it in Sanskrit and you have it in Tibetan. Then, following that logic, should we recite in Sanskrit?
It has to do with paths of pattern through the universal unconscious. So to do it in English, you're bushwhacking. You know, you're going through, there's a path that goes through the jungle, but you're cutting a new one. So you got your machete out and you're going to work up a sweat. It's going to take twice as much more energy. Eventually, we will have to bushwhack some paths in English. And if someone really chooses to be the one who does that and has the skills, the singing ability, the poetry ability, and the ability to read the original and see what it really says, that is possible. But it's going to take a very unique person and a choice of them to spend their life bushwhacking paths for the sake of others. It's easier to use a path which is there. So the path exists in Sanskrit, but it hasn't been used for a long time, or by very few, since the invasions from Persia, the Aryans, who were mostly Muslim and totally destroyed most of Buddhism in North India, left pockets up in the mountains where they never got to. They got as far as Kashmir, but not Ladakh. They got as far as Solpema and Manali, but not much farther. You go much above Manali and it's Buddhist again. So Sanskrit hasn't been much used for a long time. It's the bush has grown in. Yeah, you can still see where the path is, but it's going to take a bit of clearing. Whereas the Tibetan path has been kept well open. This is an analogy, not a reality. So you can slip more easily into the universal unconscious URL for that archetype using the path which has been cleared recently. So this is your reason. Now, within that, make your choice. If you want to go back to the original Sanskrit for those things that came from India, don't be trying to use Sanskrit on the Atisha lineage of the 21 Taras. That's Tibetan. Mahamudra came up from India in that form, but the actual form of Dzogchen came from Zhangjun. So when you really want to look at what gets done in which, you want to look at where that lineage is out of and who's kept the path open. And some lamas are trying to reopen the Sanskrit path. They are mostly scholars, not so many yogis. It's a scholarly thing to do, to learn Sanskrit. And it's an easier language to learn than Tibetan because it lacks tonal. Tibetan, you took Sanskrit and you sort of mixed it in one of those drink shakers with some Chinese, and you got a language out of that. So at least Eastern Tibetan is quite a tonal language. And that can actually make a difference. So it is perhaps easier. Look, Tibetan doesn't even have words. Sanskrit does. Multi-syllable words. In Tibetan, they're made up. I mean, a computer is a loktri, electric writing. No, that's email. Computer is loksem, electric mind. So you see, all the names for things are a little bit stuck together, which is important in understanding how thoughts work. The bits stuck together, so that's reflected in the Tibetan language. See what I mean? Now, did I answer your question or digress in strange directions? Yeah, this is why I prefer Tibetan. Also, it sounds really dorky to me in English.
English was not even a question for me. It was more than mantras in Sanskrit.
Sanskrit is, for me, extremely difficult to pronounce. The words are too long. It's like Danish. So if you can do that, great. I have trouble with long words like Samantha Bhadra. Yeah, okay, I've got that one. Other questions here while we wait for online to get it together? Anything coming out of online?
Yes. When we do Guru Yoga with your lineage prayer, when do we visualize receiving the 4 empowerments?
From the beginning. It's happening continuously during the prayer. It doesn't have a location within. Let me go back to that prayer. It's not divided into 4 empowerments. Rather, it's the Dzogchen essence of Dharmakaya, Kuntu Zongpo. You know Kuntu Zongpo, right? Primordial Buddha. Chuku is Dharmakaya, Gompo Yi, and other meditation in the nature of mind, other meditations. Vajrasattva, Garab Dorji, and so each one of these you visualize coming to you and entering and taking up residence in your heart. You are inhaling the lineage while you do this. Or you can see them gathering above your head and floating there if you can't quite feel yourself taking them in and becoming a member, feeling them as part of you. But the best is feeling them as part of you. If you're still really strongly working in, this is in the way. There, I can still see you. If you're still really working in Kriya Tantra and you really want gods and things outside of yourself to hang on to, which is what Kriya Tantra gives you, then you would put them up above your head and just have their light and just have their light and their blessing flowing down into you. But if you're working in the higher tantras, they absorb down through your crown chakra into your heart. All the Maha'ati lineage lamas, Solwadeb, invoke your blessing. Urgyen, which is a place, which is the crown chakra, which has a lot of meanings in twilight speech. The lotus-born one of Urgyen. Lotus-born, again, lots of meanings in twilight speech. One of the reasons I don't like doing this in English is you don't get the levels of meanings, the layers of meanings, how the lotus is born in the muck of samsara and blooms pristine. It is katak, impeccably unfuck-upable. So born from a lotus, with all the symbolism entailed, that which is the culmination of the crown chakra, Guru Rinpoche. And then you go to the Kargyu lineage, Dorji Chang, which is Kuntu Zangpo, like they call him in the Kargyu lineage. Same guy. Tilopa, Naropa, and Marpa, Milarepa, Gampopo, and all the others. Do you see? You're calling them and they are becoming you and you are becoming one in their realizations. If you are translating, send yourself out of your personality into the lineage, merge, see them all descending into both you and your root and the teacher who's speaking that you're trying to translate for. Send yourself up in there and meet with the teacher you're translating for and merge. They're within the lineage. It's the best I can describe how you do it as a translator. Did that make sense to you? We used to call it the Vulcan mind meld, but it really helps. Yes.
Speaking of translators.
Slow down. I saw that go by.
Today we have Spanish, Russian, and Hebrew. I don't know if Leela was able to. Okay. So we have at least those languages.
Okay.
And yes, go slow.
Trying. I get enthusiastic, you see. Being Asperger's syndrome, what they used to call high-functioning Aspie, and now is considered on the autistic spectrum, we get subjects of interest. Traditionally, dinosaurs. My grandson, who's very autistic, has dinosaurs as his. And he just loves to talk to you about dinosaurs. In fact, whatever the conversation is about, he'll get a dinosaur in there. I have a cousin, for whom it's trains. So when I hang out with him, we talk about trains. It's his subject of interest. Well, Dharma's mine. So you can always get me enthusiastically onto the topic of Dharma. Now, what question was I answering?
Lineage prayer.
The lineage prayer and how it works. So you don't look for the four wangs is a mind-made, man-made division. They aren't four separate things, actually. They are four methods of pointing at nature of mind. The first wang is explaining how it works. The second wang usually involves reading you poetry or automatically just saying poetic words to get your feelings, to feel about it. The third wang is a visual symbol. The fourth wang is telepathic. So actually, when you combine the feeling, the intellectual understanding, the recognition of the symbols, and the direct transmission together, some call that the fifth wang, but it is not a separate thing. It is singularly the four wangs together. Just as Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya are sometimes called Dharmata or Dharmadhatu when you're talking of them together. There's subtle differences between the two grammatically, but I'm not going there now. Next question. Oh, okay.
Can we continue, because there is also 4 lines that we read after the lineage, so we can also...
That was written by Khenpo Chuchong, the heart teacher of my root teacher. With all of this, and all of this non-separate. As Garab Dorji, that same, without separation. I can't give you quite a word for it, but it is very beautiful, and I'll try to get one for you. I can't do one off the cuff right now because I only have it in front of me in English. Transliteration, I can't translate from that well. I need to see Tibetan to translate because there's... So basically, it's merging everything together into a singularity without in any way bothering multiplicity. And the bit in between is me simply acknowledging other lineages, which I appreciate, which you should all do, not with my words, but with your own. If you've studied with a shamanistic lineage and you think it has helped with this, with Dharma, with your maturation as a human being and as a bodhisattva, include it. And that's going to vary from person to person. Now, you had a question.
Just going back to the copy refuge for a second, can you talk again about the fourth line, Dedamata Tata Tusamchi? I don't know what it is.
Well, let me find it. Because Tata Tusamchi. Marpa Mila Gompo Tatapa.
So before that, after George Simba Gato Tudam shares in the bar for Shimate, Dedamata Tata Tusamchi.
You're on a different prayer.
I'm on the copy lineage prayer.
Oh, that's not what I'm doing here, a very abbreviated version of it, not the full Kargu lineage prayer.
Okay, so what you're saying now doesn't
Doesn't include that. You've just got a longer version. And I'd have to see that in Tibetan to tell you what it meant. I can guess, but I'm just going by your pronunciation of Tibetan words, which might be actually quite different sounding when you look at them in Tibetan. It's like playing telephone. I'm likely to get it wrong. I think it's throughout all the times. That would be my guess from just listening to it like this with your accent.
Maybe we can look at the Tibetan together.
Yes. It's very hard to translate for me. It's very hard to translate the transliteration back into Tibetan because it's always in the accent of the person who transliterated it. So, and they're transliterating either in a Kampa teaching, Kamke, or a Uke, and many things are pronounced differently, and it just gets very confusing, whereas they're spelled the same across the two. And I'm a terrible speller, but it's a little easier if I've got the words in front of me. Next question over here.
I want to talk about the wangs. I've been doing Vajrasattva practice for a couple of weeks now, and we were talking about needing to get the wangs prior in order to bring things down.
And become Vajrasattva.
You explained to us that I know that a lot of things need to happen from direct transmission, right? But you said that we can get the wang from watching the video.
It's more than watching the video. Eat it. You actually need to suspend your belief in the true reality rather than just, yeah, it works around here, of the time-space continuum. You have to simply consider it a local custom. Just as gravity is a local custom on planets. Up and down have no real reality, and should you travel to other planets through space, which may happen in your generation or not, you would get a gut level understanding of just how local gravity was. Right now, you only have intellectual understanding from understanding the equations about how it works. The time-space continuum, like gravity, is a local custom. Do not reify it. Perceive yourself as present at the time and in the location when the wang is given. That's what I meant by eat it. Then you will catch the transmission. It's just a little trick to catching online transmissions. Many people do it instinctively. Doing online transmissions does not appear to require shouting louder than doing them in person. Now, one of my friends did not believe in online transmissions and refused to do any such thing. One of the lamas I'm thinking of, then Norbu Rinpoche thought they only worked across space but not time. No, let's put it another way. He thought it would be easier to catch them if you were only transmitting across space rather than across both space and time. Now, Garchen Rinpoche, with whom I seem to agree, seems to feel that, well, if it'll cross space, why wouldn't it cross time? They're the same thing. So that's how you take a wang online when you find it. It is very nice to be there in person. If your powers of letting go of belief systems are poor, if you're not good at that. Anybody here play on TikTok? There's a whole movement on TikTok at the moment of people going into other realities and their fantasy worlds and believing they're real, and they might have a different family there. Some of you may be familiar with that. Those people, I would find it easy to teach how to catch a wang online, simply because they are already loosely attached. They have already, through whatever method they're using, and they do it through a slight dream yoga meditation method. It's a useful exercise, should one wish to give it a try, simply to break down your grasp of the here and now as the only reality going. Does this answer any of your question? Have you all noticed how I fall back into Dzogchen when we're trying to talk about Tantra? Oops. Questions from out there?
Yes. Earlier you spoke about autism and the autism spectrum. One of our Spanish viewers asks, is there any special advice for people who are on the autistic spectrum, who are also on the Dharma path?
You know, we are all different. Find out what your superpower is. If you have subjects of interest, see if you can get Dharma as one of them. If you have rather strong powers of concentration, utilize them. If you have an ADD aspect, utilize that. Figure out how to make use of your neuroeccentricities. They're hardwired in. It will be hard to undo them. You can, to some extent, shift them a little bit. But in general, this is neurological, not psychological, and it's hardwired into your SAW system. Figure out what it's good for. We all on the spectrum have some superpowers and some things that we're going to need to work around. Learn what yours are. Find the workarounds that work for you on the ones you need to work around. I have difficulty socializing. Y'all who are here have noticed just how much socialization I've done since I've been here. I mean, a little bit, but not as much as, say, someone else would naturally do. I have to work around a neurological issue in order to socialize, and I'm good for about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more if I get a glass of wine in the middle. Learn yours. My great thanks to my first therapist on this when I was diagnosed at 8, 9. really pissed my mother off because in those days they thought it was due to cold mothers, and it's a neurological thing. He let me read all his books about child behavior. He was a child specialist with an interest in autism, and it was a new thing. Dr. Shire. He let me read all his books about child behavior so I could figure out how children were supposed to behave and fake it. Really good. The next year, I did my homework and became one of the most popular kids in the class in a new school. And he told me I passed, and there was nothing more he could do for me. I was sorry to lose him as my friend. He never told me I should be like that. He simply told me I should know how to be like that. The next year, I did not bother. I had other interests. So I got really lucky as a kid. I read all his college texts, and we'd talk about them. And that's how I learned to pass as a normie so well that even 10-year-olds couldn't tell. That's hard. You can fake the grown-ups a lot easier than the other kids. So there's the answer to that question. You are not me. You will have different superpowers. And you will have different things that you will have to work on. One time in my life, I noticed that I was terrible in emergencies. I flustered. Useless at it. You may notice that I'm not like that now. That was part of my autism neurology. So I trained as a paramedic. It's called exposure therapy. It worked. I'm fine in emergencies now. Actually, I quite enjoy them and I'm good at them. But that took 5 years of 48-hour shifts, being woken up after a sound sleep into a flat-out emergency again and again and again before I frizzed those wirings. So like I say, you can, those of you out there who are on the spectrum, you can shift something neurologically put in, but you have to really think about whether it's worth the effort, because it's going to take a lot of effort. And you're going to make a fool of yourself in the first 2 or 3 years, frequently. Other questions? Now I've been talking about myself, which is a silly subject and not actually one of my subjects of interest.
There's more on the internet.
Give me internet for a while.
Okay. Does Tantra practice result in rainbow body?
No. Not to my knowledge, unless you wish to consider Ati Yoga within the purview of Tantra. Some do. So yes, if you will consider, you've got Kriya Yoga, Kriya Tantra, Yoga Tantra, but you also have the Ati Tantra and Maha Ati Tantra. So if you will consider those tantras, yes, but it is done differently. Visualization will not lead to rainbow body. It's still a tantra. When you're working with the channels, it's a Tsalung Tantra. But there is no push there. Rainbow body cannot be done on purpose. Enlightenment is not on purpose. Look at the story of the Buddha. He tried. He fasted. A single drop of water, a single grain of rice a day. 6 years. You've seen the statues of the skinny Buddha. He did austerities. He committed austerities. He did so many things. None of them worked. Finally, in the final despair, he gave up. He ate some rice pudding brought to him by a young woman. And he just sat there without trying. And then nothing happened. Yes.
Can we have, sorry to interrupt you, can we have them speak into the microphone? And make it
Yes.
more-
Are you going to pass yours around?
Yeah. So,
That will be nice for the people online, and we've got more online than in here today,
so
I
just
suspect.
Speak into here. And turn it back. Yeah.
So if we're not trying, how do we know when to adjust our practice? We're doing too little mantra. We're not putting enough time into our practice. We're avoiding something versus we just need to relax. How do we know when to modify?
Don't jump off the mountain until you get to the top. It's not time to stop trying. It is time to hold your trying loosely. In Tantra, you find a balance that works with exactly where you are in your lifestyle, your profession, and your hopes and fears of how much practice to do every day. Traditionally, for a Nagpa, a Nagmo, one who has chosen the path fully as a householder, but has prioritized practice over the house, has either completed the raising of their children or pretty close to it, or has chosen not to get into that. You can't do this right while they're young. It would be unfair to the young ones, and they will hate the Dharma if you abandon your children to Dharma. Don't do that. Although, look, I really recommend you all read either Buddha's Lions or what's the better one, Nayanda?
Masters of Enchantment is the other.
Masters of Enchantment. It's 2 translations of the same thing. Buddha's Lions is cheaper to buy. I think the art in Masters of Enchantment might be a little better. It's more of a coffee table book. This is the stories of all the different odd individuals. The 84 siddhas of North India who got enlightened fully. And it's how that happened and what practice they did. You will find from reading these books the vast array of different practices, occupations, and personalities. If you are practicing Tantra, when you are feeling ready to put the time and energy into it, you take a yidam. Until then, you just, play around with a few different archetypes. Learn how it works. Stay in Kriya Tantra. When you are ready, and only you will know, I'm not going to tell you, to take a yidam, to be a yidam. Then you choose, or you choose together with your teacher, one or another. You get the wang, you get a sadhana, and you start practicing it. Now, I know some people collect yidam wangs. This folks do it when they're really young because they don't understand the purpose of a yidam. If you wish to collect yidam wangs, go to the great wangs given in India. Nyingma Chumbam, the whole Kargu lineage set of wangs, which will be given over a course of 2 or 3 months. If you really want to collect wangs, go there. And they'll give you an entire collection at a time. That's only useful, and they'll give it with minimal domsik because of so many. That's only useful if you're going to become a teacher of Tantra. And you want to go, oh, I had that wang. Now where's the text? Because somebody needs it. Otherwise, better to have only 1 or 2 high-level wangs and practice them. Start with 1. Merge yourself with your yidam. Become your yidam. I wish I could tell you what that feels like. There is nothing in the universe quite like it. I'm thinking Purba. The sheer certainty of it. You know all those little doubts we live with? You all know what I'm talking about. When you become your yidam, you don't have those. Your yidam doesn't have those. So this is how you practice with enthusiasm. How to know when you're doing too much, you've lost your enthusiasm. Take a break. How to know when you're doing too little, you feel funky, off balance. Like you either need to go see your therapist or do something about it. Increase your practice and talk to your therapist, if you have one. They're useful. Am I answering your question? Don't try to enter into not doing until you're done with the doing. Otherwise, nothing happens. In the wrong kind of nothing happens rather than the right kind of nothing happens. So you practice with intent and with a goal in Tantra. The goal is to be your yidam. The yidams are different to attract different people. Some like them fierce. Ah. Some like them sexy. And attractive and magnetic and charismatic. You pick a yidam that has the qualities that you in your wildest dreams have always wished you had. Why pick like that? It will help with the enthusiasm. They all go to the same place. They all go to the same energy. There really isn't much difference between Purba and Chenrezig. But which one do you want to eat? There isn't much difference between one of those meals you buy, TV dinners, nutritionally, and a good bowl of gumbo. They'll both fill the same nutritional spot. Which one do you want to eat? So, yidam practice is the key. And you start learning how that feels and works with Kriya Tantra. With Kriya Tantra, you practice a particular archetype such as Chenrezig, Manjushri, Tara, until it's not you become them, but you get visions, you meet them in some way, somehow. And for each one of you, that meeting will be different. And in my experience, because I spent at least 3 years working Kriya Tantra, all the meetings are different each time because you work with different energies. And how they show themselves or manifest for you is also going to be different. And due to a problem in my last life, I could never get Tara to manifest. No matter how much retreat I did, finally I found the problem and worked through it, but that took maybe some 20 years later. It had just been one rather traumatic experience in the life before this that blocked it. Becoming angry during a wang. Oops, don't do that. You can get interference even in your next life. I think I've answered that question. Do you have any more?
Can medicine Buddha be a yidam?
You can take medicine Buddha as a yidam in Kriya Tantra. The question was, can medicine Buddha be a yidam? In Kriya Tantra, and in fact, most practicing physicians do take medicine Buddha as their yidam, their archetype in a Kriya Tantra way. I haven't heard of it in Anuttara Tantra, but that doesn't mean it's not there. There are 1,000 things in this universe and in the complexities I haven't heard of. So let's ask the peanut gallery. Does anyone know of a medicine Buddha wang which involves a full yidam practice, involving the full sadhana of a yidam practice, that is given anywhere or has been given or you've seen or heard of it?
Karma came here and gave it.
Was it Kriya or was it Mahanuttara? Was a sadhana given with it?
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the sadhana and I could tell you. If karma has done so, I would suggest that you work with karma. You're going to be in Europe. Does he go to Europe? Anybody ever see karma go into Europe? I know he hangs out in India.
I'll ask him.
Yeah, he would know more about this than me. I've been trained to give certain wangs. That's not among them. He has had more training than I have from a much younger age. I was a little old when I started in my 20s, and I believe he started much younger. So he will know about a lot more. But I would not be surprised if it was a full yidam, and I just haven't found out about it. Yes.
So the question may be a bit personal, but I want to use the chance. It's about the role of Lama and devotion to the Lama who gave the sadhana. The context of my question is that I received Dharma and I was practicing yidam, yet I have some kind of obscuration to the terton. I don't feel devotion to who revealed.
Feel gratitude then.
Yes, the gratitude, but I feel this impacts my enthusiasm of practice. How do I go further? Either put it down respectfully.
I have had wangs from a number of lamas that I do not know well enough to feel a personal devotion to. I just don't know them well enough. I respect them. I think they're great, but we haven't any personal relationship. And for me to feel devotion, I personally, this Aspie, needs some kind of personal relationship as a conduit for it. So I have found that gratitude has been sufficient. Gratitude to the Lama for that, and certainty that they're excellent, even though I am not in their circle to provide devotion. As long as I don't stick in negativity there, I'm not sure why it would be a problem. Perhaps there is some misunderstanding in what is required.
It is more, yeah, it was, when you say gratitude, yes, it's different. But for instance, in the beginning, when I recite the prayers, with the Lama I feel devotion. I feel I recite the prayer really with full heart.
Well, then recite with a Lama you feel devotion.
And not recite what is in the sadhana.
What does the sadhana say?
So it has the Rinpoche 7-line prayer and then the invocation of the Lama who revealed this Dharma.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know him.
Starts the Tramanaka sadhana, which I love. Yet I feel I have an inspiration. It's really amazing clarity. But like, should I work through that through Vajrasattva or just respectfully put it down?
Is this the Adzom? Is this the Adzom Rinpoche that's been recently alive?
It's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah. That's who I thought you were referring to. That's an amazing bodhisattva. Do you know how sick he is from doing all that stuff? Physically? Devotion. Can you tell me what devotion means to you?
Full trust. Trust, a certain trust. And
can you trust that he is following his path properly in the way that he can? In the way that is his pattern to do? Can you trust that he is doing so for the sake of all living beings, because he could have had a lot better experience of health if he didn't do some of the things he does for sentient beings. They have a certain life force cost. So he's offering himself for sentient beings. Can you trust him to absolutely to be what he is? To fill the niche in the pattern that he fills? Will that work? You may not be occupying that niche with him, which is fine. But trust him absolutely to fill his niche to the best of the ability of the body and saw pattern, the hand he was dealt in this life, which is all you can trust any Lama to do. For as long as a Lama is embodied in a physical saw pattern body, they will have feet of clay. I keep trying to show you mine. When you choose to follow a teacher, you have to trust them in spite of that. Or you can follow the sky if you can figure out how to do it. Most of us need something a little bit more human that can actually give us a hug occasionally. But you can't have that without feet of clay. So, we're going to fart. Can't be helped. You have to see past that. Past the current manifestation and whatever particular foibles. I believe Adzom Rinpoche tends to get pretty spacey at times. Well, so do I. But not as much as he does. I don't need someone hanging on to me to keep me from floating away. Not while sober, anyway. I wish you could see the dance of the patterns and how they intersect. When we talk about perfect, what you think perfect means is not what is meant. It's not that any bit is all good, all smooth, all light, no dark. It's that the patterns are exactly themselves. Did this help any? Okay. You don't have to be anything other than exactly yourself either. Hopefully you will find that very reassuring. Next question.
First, a comment from the Peanut Gallery about Medicine Buddha. Dr. Nina Chinetsang Yongtok
Yes.
Ningtig has high yoga.
Okay, that's Bon
Tantra, Medicine
Yungdrun
Buddha.
Bon. So if you would like, you might look at Yungdrun Bon. Let's see, Tasha is one of her students, one of his students, and might be able to refer you where to get further teachings. I think they're in Europe, but I don't remember exactly. But there's a big Bon center in Europe, in the Dordogne. So you might enjoy seeing if it's available there. It would be a good one for you. You are a natural healer, regardless of what you're doing professionally or retiring or which what. Next question.
Oh, right. One of the questions is I don't have a teacher and can't see that I will have one because of where I live. I'm doing Vajrasattva purification and Tara puja. What is my next step for Tantra practice?
First of all, Garchen Rinpoche, a great tantric master, teaches online. You obviously have internet if you're watching me now and talking to me. You might want to pay attention to Garchen Rinpoche's international online community for Tantra. Your next step, as far as I can tell, you're doing Tara and what else? Vajrasattva.
Vajrasattva, yeah.
Keep doing those until something happens. Meanwhile, investigate Garchen Rinpoche's website, teachings and explanations. I believe in Tantra. He can take you further than I can. I'm not a Lopan. Next question.
What about practicing multiple yidams? Should we follow Milarepa's advice on how to choose a main yidam or something, or is there some deeper instruction to follow?
Refresh my memory on what Milarepa's advice was in this situation.
So,
And I'll take another question while we wait for him to get back to me.
okay. A different question is, I have started doing Kurakuli practice. I was not able to attend the teachings years ago. Any pointers to not do myself a mischief?
Yes. Have you got, first, get the Wong if you haven't. Second, I believe there's still an ongoing Kurakuli practice group online on Mondays
Yes.
that will help you not to do a mischief. Join the Tantra group if you want to see me about once a month, and I can help you not do yourself a mischief. Get the sadhana. I assume you have the sadhana and wish to practice it. And let us help you do so until you find it easy to do so on your own. Did the Milarepa thing get back to me yet?
I'm going to check. Let's see if it's...
Because I don't remember which song he's talking about.
Yeah, that also dropped out of my memory. That's what age does.
Yeah. So he'll get back to me and we'll take another one.
Okay. Would
See,
you
guys, feet of clay. I'm a bear of very little memory.
Mm. A different question, meanwhile. Would you please say something about the Vajra whip? What is it?
What are you?
Or maybe it's poetic?
The lasso? The implement carried by certain archetypes?
I think that's what they're referring to.
It grabs attention. It grabs the attention of things that are usually found in the hands of a fierce archetype, sometimes called a whip, but sometimes called a lasso or a noose. It looks very similar. It's a grabber. It captures and subdues. So in the Tibetan culture, which is similar to American Old West cowboy, it captures and subdues your enemies so that you will be safe from them. Now, once you take that up a step, your enemies aren't out there. Your enemies are your damn pagchas and parchis. Gex. What would that be in English? Imps? Internal imps? Okay, patterns. You've all got a pattern that you trip over. Maybe some stupid teacher gave it to you unintentionally, but it stuck, that you're no good. Maybe your survival as a child was to cry anytime somebody looks at you cross-eyed, and now you can't stop. Maybe you were told you had to be strong and show no emotions, so by the time you grew up, you couldn't even feel them. All of these are Gex, internal imps, matted bits in your internal sa, which as the thoughts flow, they can't flow that way into liking yourself. It's blocked by a matted bit, like that stuff that you get behind long-haired dogs' ears that has to be cut out. You'll never get a comb through it. So those are your enemies, your internal enemies that make you a social klutz, that make you think you're less than you could be, that make you hate yourself on a bad day. Those. Tibetans have different ones. That's our culture, usually. Some form of self-disparagement that keeps us back, that holds us back. So those are your enemies. It captures and subdues them so they can't bother you because they're all tied up. So if you were talking about what I think you were, there's your answer. Next question.
One moment, I had it.
I'll get yours.
Oh, wait, let me. Okay, I'm just speaking to the top there.
Thank you. So for the online wong that you recommended we get for Vajrasattva, having a wong like that, that's not the same as taking a yidam, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you explain the difference?
It's giving you the psychic URL to locate the actual energy, which is Vajrasattva. Mm-hmm. It's imprinting that in your consciousness rather than your computer. Mm-hmm. That was an analogy. Mm-hmm. You know how you get no URL and it lives in your computer?
Yeah.
Until you get rid of it? Mm-hmm. Well, this is the same thing. You get a URL for that energy in the universal unconscious. Mm-hmm. And now it lives in your mind-body interface. And so anytime you poke on it, you can go there to that website. Mm. Pure analogy, guys. But it's the best one I can give you for what you get from these wongs. Gotcha. You could probably find it by Google and experiment and error by doing the sadhana over and over again. But isn't it easier to have the URL? Mm. Get the wong. That's why I sent everybody, when I began teaching on these, where to get the wong. Gotcha. Okay, you want to give that back to Nyando?
Yeah. So wong and empowerment is the same thing?
Yes. Sorry, I often use the Tibetan word. A wong is an empowerment. I'm simply naming it in Tibetan. There's wong, lung, and tri. A wong is an empowerment. A lung is a reading of a text, which gives you permission to read the text. In the days when texts were handwritten, it was as much to find out where it was miscopied from the teacher who knew the text. But it's still considered appropriate to do when possible. And most people will put them online, and there's no question of getting them online, canned, or whatever. And then a tree. That's the explanation, the teaching on how it works. How do you do it? Does the seed syllable face this way or this way? That's in the tree. So to really practice something, you need wang, empowerment, lung for the sadhana, somebody reads you the sadhana once, and tri, the teaching that goes with this. Next question.
The question is, can a yidam show the nature of mind, or can that be done only by a human guru?
Yes, but it is extremely uncommon. Garab Dorji's yidam was Vajrasattva, the considered Nyingma founder of Dzogchen. Actually, Dzogchen's older than that, but he's the founder of the North Indian version of Dzogchen. He was around in the days of Nalanda, that time when Buddhism was at its height in India. He was born to a nun, which was quite embarrassing for her. There's many stories about that, but his teacher who showed him his nature of mind, how he founded the lineage, was Vajrasattva, primordial purity, innate nature, unsulliable, the innate perfection of the pattern within itself as itself. Vajrasattva is more than just, it's going to purify my glitches. It's a lot bigger than that. That's where you start before you understand what it really is. Vajrasattva. Kata, primordial purity. Yeah, don't think Christian pure. Think the pattern which holds open the time-space continuum so that mind in its singular multiplicity can manifest its creativity without any loss of space or openness. The light, the beauty of that, undentable. The primal unfuck-upableness of life, aliveness, regardless of the form it takes and the experiences it has. Vajrasattva. The primal eastern direction, white in color. Fear and anger, desire, aversion. Basically, aversion, which is fear and anger. They're the same thing. Resolved into their natural shape rather than the usual girdle you try to stuff them into by either acting them out or suppressing them, both of which deform them into fear and anger when naturally they are simply pristine, pure clarity. The mirror-like wisdom of Vajrasattva without judgment or preferences, beyond the grasping and shoving of the gray folk that hustle around. It's a very beautiful energy. You're not just washing your own glitches out by a god. And yes, it can be a yidam. So your answer is yes, but the only situations I know of where this has occurred is Garab Dorji, the Buddha, Gautama. I'm trying to remember if Atisha laid claim to some of that. He may have. I don't know his biography that well. No, Tilopa had teachers. They just weren't famous. I can't think of any other offhand. So, can you do it? Highly unlikely. But who knows? Maybe you're going to be another Garab Dorji. But if you think that, you're having a serious oops. I mean, if you believe the thought, anything can wander by. Next question.
We do have a follow-up on the Milarepa question.
Okay, thank you.
And this is about choosing among multiple yidams
Yes.
to see your main one. And they say here, the yidam that reveals itself to you through intense experience or has a feeling of familiarity or even reflects the nature of your root guru.
As you see it, you don't see your root guru. You see who you're making up. You don't see them as they are fully in all their ramifications. God, if you guys saw me as I am in all my ramifications, you'd be running for the hills. I can be scary. You see them as you project upon them, according to your needs. You see what you need in a root guru. And that's what they're for, sitting still. So you can do that as much as possible. Not imposing on you too much of their personality unless you really want it. And this is, I keep telling you, yidam's the one you like. Now, doesn't that sound like a short version of this? The one that pulls you, that reveals itself to you, that reminds you of the way you see the perfection of your root guru? Has that feel? You fall in love with your yidam when you start. And then you become it. So, yes, that is quite correct, the way Milarepa put it. I would like to know from which song that came, because I want a copy. That is not one that was in the book I was reading. So somebody send me the URL or the PDF for that particular bit of Milarepa's, because I really like it. And I now remember that I've heard it before, but I have no idea where it might be, like in passing. So thank you. No, I don't have a better answer. Shorthand is pick the one you really, really like. It pulls your heart. It grabs you by the loins or by the yi. You want to embrace it, engulf it, be it, love it. That's the one you want to pick. You can get to know a few until then, or you can just flip through all the pictures and see who might work. See if anybody invokes that feeling in you. Garchen Rinpoche has been practicing Purba for, I think he said, 7 lives, which makes it so much easier in this life to accomplish Purba. Dorji Purba, Vajrasattva. Definitely, if that one is pulling you, get the wang from him. He's good. And do, when you go take these online wangs, which have been placed freely by the kindness of the teacher for you without any charge at all, cast out there and free, go make an offering to Garchen Rinpoche. Doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be little, but it should be done. It helps cement the relationship. Samaya, although sometimes translated as vow, has a secondary meaning of relationship. After all, a vow between two people, such as marriage vows, is a relationship. So the exchange of energy, money is just dried energy. I mean, you spent energy to get it, right? By working or by making something and selling it. And now it's in a dried form. It's easy to carry around and exchange. So the exchange of energy, the balancing karmically, is fairly important. So I really strongly encouraging those of you who I send to Garchen Rinpoche for the practice of Tantra or to other lamas. Just because Garchen Rinpoche is currently my favorite of the tantric teachers at the moment doesn't mean he's the only one. Look around. And do make offerings to him when you make use of what he offers freely. It creates tendril. Tendril is important. It means connection. Make sense? Next question.
Can you talk about when you felt your Lama pushed you too much and you took a break? I have a Vajrayana Lama I took Wang with and also feel like taking a break.
He told me to give a certain person whatever they wanted. And I couldn't do it. Couldn't imagine having sex with that person, which appeared to be one of the things they wanted. When they touched me, it just made my hair stand on end. I don't know for a fact that they wanted sex. It simply seemed that way at the time. Perhaps only they did say out loud they wanted to be my best friend. At that time, who I was then, I couldn't do it. And I couldn't resolve the situation easily inside myself. So I ran away. I had an excellent excuse. My mother was sick. But I do regret having run away and having been unable to put down my own desires and aversions long enough to find out what really it was that they wanted, rather than what I was afraid they wanted. I mean, I'll usually have sex with most anybody. I mean, I'm promiscuous by nature. It's just who I am, except for students because it freaks them out. So I made a rule of no go. But, most anybody else, if they at all interest me, not monogamous by nature. Tried it once when I was 14, didn't like it, never bothered again. point I'm making is that for some reason, I don't even know if that's what was wanted. I got all tangled up in my hopes and fears and projections and was not able to master Dzogchen well enough to deal with it. I think at the time I was actually working on Mahamudra before he gave up on Mahamudra with me and started teaching me Dzogchen, because I wasn't going in. And all the reality looked so terribly real. And every thought I believed in. So I ran away. Fortunately, he came and got me after a couple of years of considerable discomfort. I was not the best of students. Maybe it'll take you guys less than 50 years to learn something. But I had offered him body, speech, and mind throughout the 3 times. So I really had no right to run away with something that belonged to him. Oops. You see, I know where all the oopses are. On account of I've stepped in them. You may find this useful on your path. Next question.
I find my visualizations are more vivid and the meditation is better around the time of menstruation.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely hear in Buddhism how the menstrual cycle affects practice.
This is because most Buddhist teachers are male. And yes, that's correct, what you're saying. You will find your best energies around that time. They're a useful thing to know. There are things I'm not allowed to tell you here in mixed company. However, yes, what you're saying is quite true. Other people may have noticed this themselves. You see, most of the lineage has been maintained by male monks who don't even know that women menstruate. My teacher never believed me that women did that. Well, how would he know? He'd been a monk since he was 6. And you don't tell the little kids about it. Why would you? They're boys. They don't need to know this. I never did convince him it wasn't one of those jokes that I was pulling his tail, because he played some real jokes on me. You know, they taught me that the key to my cave was called a penis, because I was always losing the key to my cave, so I was always walking around. Anybody, have you seen my penis? I can't find it. Yeah, Tibetans have a really good sense of humor in a certain slapstick way. Next question.
One moment. Let's see. Why is sex seemingly involved in Tantra?
Because it's the mating instinct is one of the strongest instincts that you have between the ages of about 10 and 70. I take that back. 80? Anyway, it's really strong. Look at male praying mantises. They know that she's going to bite their head off and eat it. They do it anyway. Look at what young guys do to attract women. Driving too fast, motorcycles that you're not even very good on, but you'll never let them know. Yeah, other stuff. Look at what young women do to attract male mates. Anybody here ever worn high heels on cobblestones? I've seen it frequently. Lucky to survive that one with both ankles intact. Even high heels, Spanx. That stuff is vicious. And yet, why does a woman use it? How much time do most women waste every morning putting their face on? And why? How much time do most guys waste trying to attract women by their personality or something else? Unless they're trying to attract guys. I mean, but it's the same mating instinct. Whether you want to mate with a male or a female, and regardless of what you start out as, and regardless of what you end up as, you still want to get laid. Or, if that's not the big one for you, you still want to get loved. Some people, it doesn't center in the groin. It centers farther up in the heart. What they want is someone to come to them and love them best in the whole wide world. And a lot of young girls have babies so that they can have that, because they love them best, at least until they become teenagers. That instinct is so powerful. It is perhaps the only instinct that overcomes survival reflex. May I point out again, praying mantises? Well, bodhicitta is when you take that instinct, that urge to merge with another, to engulf and be engulfed by, to embrace, to hold, to be held. And you open it up to all life everywhere. And it's the only thing that counters the selfishness of a crab pot. You ever see crabs in a bucket? They can't climb out. Well, they could, but anytime one of them gets up pretty high, the others pull it down to stand on it. So you can keep crabs in a bucket for quite a while as they pull each other back in. I once had a litter of kittens, and I turned on the vacuum. They were sleeping in the middle of the bed, and I turned on the vacuum to vacuum in there. And all of a sudden, this pile of kittens began each trying to crawl underneath all the others to be the last one eaten by the loud monster. I turned off the vacuum, but when I managed to stop laughing enough to do that. This is the survival reflex. You will need to overcome it. The method for doing so is bodhicitta, which is what the Western direction, desire, urge to merge, love, loneliness, lust, resolves into when it is neither suppressed nor distorted by cultural ramifications about it and what it should be like, but is released into its natural state. It becomes complete, full, real bodhicitta. Not the pretend bodhicitta of trying to do good things for others from an egocentric way so that you can be seen as kind, which is where everybody starts. It's a starting place. You just have to keep going until it becomes instinctive to look for others, until you slowly lose the separation between self and others. Those of you who came to the bio retreat, this is what we worked on with Tonglen. and Chenrezig. So the symbol of Yabyum, male energy and female energy, is the symbol of the emptiness and the dance of phenomena, which is itself bodhisattva, as one thing. You see this in Mahamudra under Trultra Naljur, yoga of dancing stillness. You see this in Tantra, symbolized as the form of male and female in union. What it refers to is not men and women, but yin and yang. And the union it refers to is within the individual, to get the balance of energy, to have the balance of energy between that love, which is bodhisattva, and that emptiness, which is clarity. As one thing in union. Remember when I teach you Vajrasattva Yabyum, there's only one heart chakra to visualize going around? There's a reason for that. They are not separate there. It's the energy of doing, which is how Bodhisattva manifests. Doing for all life. Balancing the ecology that beings may live in contentment and ease. Involving in politics for the same purpose. All the doings which are considered yang, protruding forward, and the infinite vast spaciousness which gives room for the doings, context for the doings, the open awareness of no thing, in the dance of all things as one. It's not about sex, but sex is the symbol of it. Next question.
Can I use Vajrasattva combined with Trekchud practices? Can you give tips?
Yes. At the end of Vajrasattva, if you're using the Anuttara version, where you become Vajrasattva, the whole universe is purified. Everything is crystal clear light. Clear light is the nature of emptiness. It is the vitality, the life force of infinite openness, the lucidity, the luminosity, the clear light, also sometimes known as Sambhogakaya, which Vajrasattva Yabyum is a symbol of. So at the end of the sadhana, the trekcha of the vast universal mind, nature of mind, is apparent. Instead of trying to make your own little tiny trekcha in your own little tiny mind-body continuum, go rest in the big one. Yeah? We got a few more minutes. Next question.
How can I connect my practice with the psychedelic medicines?
That is such an individualized answer. I don't know you well enough. You're nameless to me as a questioner. I might be able to answer that for an individual that I knew well. In general, however, do your psychedelics in their proper context. If you want to do peyote, go to a proper methode. If you want to do ayahuasca, go down to South America, find its context, do it right. The same for mushrooms. They grow down in Mexico wild. You can go down there. There's shamans that will teach you. Don't just drop random pills around home. God, you don't know what's in them these days. You're sticking fentanyl in everything. You think you got acid. Somebody stuck a little bit of fentanyl in, just a tiny bit to maybe make the high. They thought nice because they like downers. You decide you're going to take a 1,000 microgram trip, which means you're going to take 4 or 5 of them, which is fine with pure LSD. You can take as many as you want. God, I've eaten handfuls. If it's pure, you got to know your source, where it came from, who made it, how they made it. Because a lot of stuff is not. You can't take a high dose because God knows what's in it. I mean, back in my day, they used to stick speed in it. Now they're sticking downers in it. Why? You stupid idiots. So go use the organic stuff that grows, that you can see in its natural form, and go do it in its context. That's the best I can give you. Let the shaman who's showing it to you teach you how to use it. That I can say generally, if you're going to go play with that, do it that way. I do not trust the current pill form stuff that's around these days. When I was a kid, I could get it from Osley. I could get it from Leary. I knew what I was getting and what the quality was. If I wanted to take 10,000 micrograms, I knew it was safe. Just intense. I don't have those connections anymore. Can't help you with that. Next question.
Do you also need a yidam when practicing Dzogchen or only in Tantra?
Only in Tantra. Dzogchen does not use yidams. It uses other methods in other ways. Tantra and Dzogchen synergize. Dzogchen's hard, guys. It was 50 years before I had a clue what it was really about. Fortunately, I started very young. Some of you may not be quite so young and may wish to go faster. Don't worry, I'll tell you where the holes are. Just step over them. But no, Dzogchen has a whole different set. But Dzogchen is completion state. Tantra is stage of accumulation. In order to complete something, you have to do it, don't you? Stage of completion with building a house is the party afterwards, right? If you build a house or redo a house and your friends help, and then there's this big party afterwards with good food and, booze and stuff. Isn't that the custom around here? It is in most places.
Never finished.
Well, there is that. But at some point, you get to the point where it's time for the completion, the party. But first, you got to get the roof on because it might rain. And the party might have to move inside, even though it was supposed to be in the yard. That's an analogy. So you got to finish building the pattern, that is capable of Dzogchen out of your own pattern, the becoming. Now, there are pure Dzogchen methods for that, which work for some people. But most of us may need a little help, in which case I highly recommend adding Tantra. On account of most of us have weird glitches that get in our way. And we've all got different ones, but we've all got them. So Tantra is really helpful. All those, like what you call tantric whip, the noose, and the bow and arrow, and all these symbols, the pestle, all of these symbolize things that act upon the glitches to get rid of them. The Tibetan way of seeing it is accumulating wealth, enough wealth to be able to buy Dzogchen. But it's not wealth of money, it's wealth of what they call merits. Now, culturally, this makes a great deal of sense. I don't think it makes sense in this culture, especially as you can't accumulate merits without dedicating them and giving them away, because you'll burn them up. You can't keep them. So a better way to see it is you change yourself through Tantra until your glitches are no longer in the way of your directly perceiving nature of mind as it is, rather than as you hope it will be or fear it might be. Make sense? And I think we're close to the end now. I'm beginning to feel it in my voice. Any last questions out here? Yes.
One really quick last question.
Okay, here's a microphone.
When we're talking about receiving the online wangs for the tantric practices, does that work the same way for the wangs for the pointing out instructions for Trekcho, or is that
I
treated
believe it
differently?
may for some people.
Okay.
Give it a try. I think it does, and many people have come to me and said that they got them online like that, pre-recorded, and it worked. So obviously it's possible for some people. Do it the same way. Suspend your belief in the absolute reality of the time-space continuum. Don't deny it. Simply suspend your belief in its absolute reality and realize that it's quite local. And then just step out. Anything last particularly good out there?
Let's see. A question about Mandareva, and can Mandareva be a Maha'ati?
Yeah, I think so, in a way of Norbu Rinpoche's teaching. I don't have that wrong, but maybe. You would have to check with Norbu Rinpoche's people, where I hear there is a very beautiful Mandareva sadhana that people practice. But I have not seen it or practiced it, so I can't really answer that with any clarity. You'll have to do your own research and see if anyone is teaching it like that. I simply don't know. Last in here, yes.
Would you recommend any?
There are different sadhanas for Vajrayogini. Would you recommend any specific, or also from whom to receive the wang?
I send people to Garchen Rinpoche for wangs because I have great confidence in him. He does them right. Remember, I'm trained to give wangs. I just am too damn old without having a bunch of monks around me to do all the setup. You need a lot of setup for a wang. So the actual giving of the wang is only a small part of what goes on. He does them very well. So I would send people there. It's not precisely Vajrayogini. Vajrayogini stands like this with the skull cup. It's the Nyingma version. That's Shakya. That's Shakya and Gelugpa. I think Kagyu has both versions, but I'm not sure. But the Nyingma version is Dorji Palmo, which comes out about the same, except she stands on one foot and has the other cacked. I personally like Dorji Pagmo, who has a pig's head coming out of her head. But that's my personal affinity to a particular set of symbols of a certain energy. I believe what Garchen Rinpoche gives includes both Palmo and Pagmo, because somewhere in the sadhana both are used. Both names are used. They're the same energy. It's just I happen to really like the pig head symbolism. I like the way it says something about rolling in phenomena, not rejecting it, as pigs roll in things and don't reject. So I generally, for wangs, recommend Garchen Rinpoche if they're within the ones he gives. And I know he does have that online with sadhana. And I'm planning to do it with a group of people, hopefully in the next couple of months. I need to make some plans and do some research. And check with my Lopan, who's kind of handling the Tantra for me at the moment, which is Dorit. She is the one I'm going to refer you to by email, all of you, to Lopan Dorit for tantric questions. She really loves Tantra. I kind of just keep falling back into Dzogchen, as you saw with this teaching, attempting to stay in Tantra. She'll stay in Tantra. She's good. She also practices Dzogchen, but what the love I have for Dzogchen is the love she has for Tantra. And you need that in a tantric teacher. It communicates the enthusiasm. And I think this may be about the time. Ge wandi nyur duda che che sala go pashu. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. Do y'all want bonkies or not? If you want bonkies, I got bonkies.
Yes. There's no whiskey in the
If that matters to you.
Oh, and just a final reminder, we had translators today. Dorit was one.
Oh, yes.
Spanish, and Jenny was doing Russian today.
So if you guys today were listening to this in a language other than English, please be kind to your translator. Offer them something as nice. Even if it's $1, even if it's a thank you so much for this email, at least thank them. They're all volunteers. They put a lot of energy into this. And they at least should have your thanks. Also, if any of you want to merge your practice with one of our Tibetan yogis' practice and sponsor their lifestyle of retreat, send me an email and I'll tell you more. Next month, we have coming up with a series. That series will be working with thoughts and then a couple of weeks later, working with emotions. Anyone who wants to go to the Canadian retreat and has not had these had better take them first. They're the prerequisites for the Canadian retreat. They will be given, the first one, working with thoughts, will be given publicly. Working with emotions is pretty much usually done as a retreat. I don't know how many people want it. We may open the Zoom up past 50. I have to discuss that with Jan. But if you're looking to go to working with perceptions, which is happening in Canada, and may also happen in Europe, I have no idea what's scheduled over there. There's only chin raising? Okay. Well, I've got more time in Europe. Is everything already scheduled? No, that would be working with perceptions as a retreat, takes about a week. So anyway, it's happening in Canada. It's pretty intense. So if you want, tune in and catch the preliminaries next month. Look at the schedule to find out when. I don't know. I look at the schedule to find out when. I'm not going to look for you. And I do think we're done.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. Tomorrow is the same question and answer, but specific topic of Dzogchen from the 3 words teaching. Okay. Oh, thank you, dear.